Did she actually
Hello, all.
There was no audio, so nobody got to hear that.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight.
So Jen decided to play this video and didn't even have the audio working, apparently. That's at least what John is saying. Did she actually have the audacity to make a comment about how sentencing should go? Wow.
Well, so I'm sad there was no audio. I don't know how to make that work, but anybody who saw this today knows that really what this is about is a new segment I think I'm going to pull out on occasion when required, called The Kente Cloth Tales. It's an anthology of tone deafness.
Okay, so that didn't work. So apparently whatever you tried didn't work because it didn't come through. I don't know if we had not hit the audio button or whatever it was.
Do they hear us now? I'm pretty sure people.
Can you guys hear us?
I'm pretty sure.
Guys, check. Thumbs up. Make sure you can hear us. That's important. That's important that you guys can hear us. Can you? Okay, now I got to write it.
And I even unmuted us.
And you hear us?
I think they can.
Well, I think they would probably say if they can, right?
Yeah.
Would they?
Can you hear us? Well, I had.
Yes, we can hear. Okay, good.
So I don't know what happened, but anyway, so I want to share the slide again. So this is what I'm trying to accomplish. Share that here. Yeah, share that. Okay. So I had this sort of brainchild that every time there is an instance like this, it just really needs to be pointed out for the lunacy that it is. And I am so sick and tired of people singing praises for people that are leaders like this. This woman who was showing off her ice cream freezer while people were waiting in 3 Mile food lines.
And just purchased over $13 million in stock options that were from companies that just had some heavy duty what you would call
I don't know, but you're so
information no. She's guilty of so many things.
Tone deaf. But the fact that she actually thanked George Floyd for sacrificing himself for justice. No, Nancy, he was murdered. Oh my God. I just, you know what? The fact that she thinks that now everything is fine because we got a guilty verdict where there needed to be one in a slam dunk case.
There were people that came out already saying that, in some way, if Chauvin had been acquitted, that really would have forced their hand to have to do some type of serious legislation. Now that he's been found guilty, the Democrats, especially that leadership, is going to treat it like, oh, well, now we don't have to worry. Now we can and that's their thing. They don't need to legislate this now because justice was served. Let me be very clear. There's nothing just about any of this. There's no justice. There is accountability. And Emily is pointing out what I was trying to point out. That's the whole point. That we, there are many people on social media. But there's this one guy in particular, Ricky Davila, who is he's like a working actor, if you want to call it that. Another person who's trying to suck up to the establishment. We all know how they are. They're one of those resistor people. They've got like 150, 200,000 followers, and they follow like 80, 100,000 people. And here he is making a post about how you've got all these GOPers who do insider trading. Yeah, so does Dianne Feinstein and Nancy Pelosi.
Oh my God.
So if you're not going to mention everybody who's doing it, then you're just being a hack.
It's like, hi, pot. Would you like to meet the kettle?
Seriously, everyone.
Oh my God.
There are no good guys here.
No.
This is corporate versus non-corporate. That's what this is.
But this to me was just the way that she spoke. If anybody, I'm sorry, I don't have that. It was just sort of a last minute idea to just sort of play that, but it's available. I highly recommend anybody watch the Nancy Pelosi reaction to the Derek Chauvin verdict. It's so cringy from start to finish, and then nobody calls her out on it. So like she actually has a staff that okayed this or said, yeah, that sounds like a good way to go. No, Nance, not a good way to go. Sorry.
And unfortunately, there is no real learning from this. And
thank you. Looked up to the sky. Thank you, George Floyd, for sacrificing yourself for justice.
We feed them.
Oh my God.
We feed them. That's her wonderful line.
I can't.
Can't. You cursed. You can't do that. You're going to hurt our channel.
I didn't curse.
I thought you said the F word.
No, I said I just can't. I didn't say the F word.
Yeah, but Pelosi really just kind of embodies all of that as wrong. And, obviously one of our news and amuse topics tonight, of course, is the verdict. And obviously it was from your perspective, it was a surprise that they got second degree. That was not something that I think a lot of people were anticipating. But
I just am so used to being disappointed that it just didn't occur to me.
No, that's fair.
It didn't occur to me. Like I'm so used to being disappointed. I think I was just a little bit, but I was my call was that they would convict him on second degree and the lesser of the charges, which was, I believe, second degree manslaughter. But yeah, so I'm pleasantly surprised, and I'll be, hopefully more pleasantly surprised come sentencing, because now he can get 40 years. And he can get 40 years. And the truth is, people, we don't need to give him 40 years.
No, and apparently
he's not going to make it a couple of years.
Yeah, well, apparently they're already saying he's got to be put in solitary, like he can't
he is.
be in
He's
population.
He's not making it. He's not making it for the long haul.
But essentially, he's a sacrificial lamb. Oh, yeah. It's basically what he is.
Oh, they all just sort of tossed him aside. Well, as well they should have.
It's easier, but you see, that's the thing. They're trying to protect the system. They're not concerned about a one-off situation, because there are one-off situations. There are people that they can just cast aside, because, again, it comes back to he got convicted because there was video evidence, and that's it. And just like there is video evidence in the Michaela, forgive me for botching her name, the young lady who unfortunately was killed in Columbus, but the video evidence is what is going to decide whether a person is guilty or not. And that, ultimately what has to happen is it has to be a requirement that police officers have to wear body cams. I mean, that just has to be.
Well, and like I said
law.
A few days ago, that now we have finally legislation that's supposed to be police reform. It doesn't require that. It actually requires them to do background checks into the officers they hire. This had to be legislated. And it also did something so much fun, is saying that police officers cannot arrest any child under the age of 7. We're that far back. So, but what do you think of my little thing there? So you get it, mug shot.
Mug madness. Oh,
no, mug shot madness. See, mug.
Oh, mug shot madness. Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. That's really good.
I know.
And speaking of people who are arrested, we talk all the time about.
I have problems with this.
Well, I'm sure there are many reasons why, but again, this gets back to the fact that we have systemic corruption, not just in the country, but obviously here in Broward County, and this has been going on for a very long time. Obviously, Wasserman Schultz is pretty much at the head of the class, but our superintendent Robert Runcie has. He's been the ire of a lot of people for a very long time, much like former Sheriff Scott Israel became somewhat of a sacrificial lamb for a lot of people in this county who demanded justice. And let's face it, Broward County really is emblematic of a lot of the country. You have a lot of haves and a lot of have-nots. And when the haves have something happen to them that they don't like, they demand justice in a way that isn't exactly justice. It requires
somebody being fired.
Yes.
And somebody is going to have to take the fall. What's so interesting about this, you didn't live here back when the last school board we had and the last superintendent that we had, they had to be disbanded by the state of Florida.
Correct.
And because there was so much corruption in their investigation that they couldn't even find which person it was. So when Robert Runcie came, he came after they had disbanded our entire school board. Yeah. And so he was brought in to, clean up the corruption. And from everything that I know of him, he's a decent person. So I've met him, but I don't really know him. And there's something very off about this. It's off. Who gets arrested on a perjury charge? That doesn't happen. And also, by the way, this woman, the Broward attorney, she has been like a very well-liked, very reputable attorney for like 40 years here. And so something is just off about this, whether it's a witch hunt, whether like you said, somebody has to be accountable for something. Something is off about this.
I don't have the full details. I just know that there is a major rift between the superintendent of Broward Schools, the Broward County School Board, and the Broward County Teachers Union. Now, whose side everybody's on, I can't really say. All I can tell you is if you think you have problems where you are with politics, come here.
But you know what this really is? And I don't think people realize that who aren't inside things. Like what this really looks like, what this looks like to me is a coup. Like what this looks like to me is some sort of like uprising takeover of certain power players that don't like the current power position of the way the school board is. And this is the way to uproot that. So I think that to me, this looks like a behind the scenes coup.
For those of you who know who Fred Guttenberg is, may his daughter rest in peace, but he is somebody who has really taken the tragedy that was Parkland and turned it into political opportunism. And he has used it as a weapon. And one of the things that he did, I'm not going to get into the full details, but let's just say he saw to it that Scott Israel could not make a living. Basically could not find work.
Yep. And
this is the vindictiveness that privileged upper class people have over society.
Right.
When they get, especially if it's tragic, forget it. There is nothing they won't do to.
Then they'll notice problems, and they'll still only be. Yeah. They'll only still care about it in a very, very small little echo chamber framework that they care about it in. But yeah, then there's this sort of like all of a sudden there's this entitlement to just anybody who wasn't exactly who you want them to be. Now you're going to use all your platform to cancel them. That's what it is.
Well, again, it gets back to, when you get in the way of the machine, if you will, there is nothing they will not do in order to get them out of the way. And let's face it, it's not a very, it's not equitable in terms of how, Runcie was compensated versus how teachers are compensated. So naturally, there's going to be resentment to some degree.
But that's the case. But okay, but that's not personal to him.
Well, I understand that. You see, Runcie was making $330,000 a year, which is almost 10 times the amount the average teacher makes. That's pretty serious business. And you better believe the resentment is very real. It is a power position to be a superintendent, to be a sheriff, to be any one of these county-wide positions, especially in Broward County. We're one of the most densely populated counties there is, I think. There's a lot that really goes on, and no one really can get to the bottom of it because you don't know who's really on your side. Who's really on the side of justice and who's just on the side of their own, opportunism. And so, before we jump to conclusions,
I'm just saying
we do need to see a thorough investigation.
And I just feel like this is the kind of thing. And by the way, this kind of hackery reporting, doing this, and this is why I call it mugshot madness. This will be permanently associated and affiliated in people's heads with the word, perjury. This is all because you can't say that he did it. You could only say alleged or arrested for. But when you put it there, it makes a connection for people. And so this is very intentional. And I am very suspicious of what's really the background story to these two people being arrested. I've never heard of somebody being arrested for perjury in a situation like this.
And ultimately, we will get to the bottom of it.
Yes,
we will find out exactly why this is happening the way that it's happening.
But something is, and I'm not saying he didn't do something wrong. I'm not saying that maybe there wasn't perjury. I'm just saying the fact that somebody would be arrested for this is not typical. So this is a power play somehow by somebody. That's just how I see it nowadays.
Well, again, always suspect expect the unexpected. That's really what you need to do. You can't just assume that what's happening here is on the level. And I hate saying it that way, but a lot of us just don't trust the process, and rightfully so. Why would you trust the process? I mean, I'm not saying that Runcie is a saint by any stretch of the imagination, but I've seen enough over the past several years to lead you to believe that if this is a one, or in this case, 2-person, arrest, knowing what goes on around here doesn't seem like this is this is really like a systemic corruption overhaul.
Yeah.
It's just like you're arresting 2 people. No, you got to arrest about 20 to 25.
That's the thing. See, this is something is very shifty about
if you're going to take down the corruption, then you got to really take it down. You can't take down a couple of people. Like I said, there's definitely more to this than what we know as of now. So before anybody jumps to any heavy conclusions, I think it's very important that we do wait and we do get the facts. Just like what happened in Columbus, Ohio is different than what happened in Minneapolis. You have to be willing to see the evidence before you make any drastic conclusions. With that said, It looks like justice will be done with Derek Chauvin, but will that lead to systemic justice for the system itself?
Not in Florida.
End qualified immunity, and then we're talking. Until then, you're just, pissing in the wind, as they say.
Yes, and the people in Minneapolis, even though he was held accountable, the people in Minneapolis are on the hook for the $27 million settlement.
Which they should not be.
Suit. No, of course not. So that's really, that's a huge problem.
But nonetheless, it's one step in the right direction, and we have to keep taking steps in the right direction. And from a law enforcement perspective, it looks like the city of Birmingham, Alabama, is taking the right approach when it comes to criminal justice reform. And that, of course, is Mayor Woodfin. A friend in weed is a friend in need. I like it.
No, a friend indeed.
Oh, no, no, in weed.
A friend in weed is a friend indeed.
That's what I said.
You said in need.
I did say in need?
Instead of indeed.
I said in need. Okay, well, I made a mistake.
It says a friend in weed is a friend indeed.
That is definitely a good line.
See, and so now...
Mayor Woodfin, if you somehow catch this, we definitely would like to have you on the podcast.
Mayor Woodfin, we'd love to talk with you. You're definitely a friend indeed.
15,000 marijuana. Listen, that's common sense as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
You absolutely should expunge any of those ridiculous records because there is no way that there is any justification behind.
We still have people serving life sentences for marijuana.
Correct. And why is that?
Well,
because we have a for-profit prison industry.
See, what this is, and this is probably at this point, well, depending on how long this gentleman's been the mayor and what their vibe is there, it's very likely that they decriminalized it a long time ago, stopped prosecuting it, that the DA stopped doing anything about it. And this could be a very good symbolic thing. And I'm not saying that it's not important, because it is important.
No, it's definitely important, but we need
to be expunging everybody's
you have
records.
You have to take it where you can. And that's why, a lot of times we've gotten the thing that has to happen now post, the Bernie run of the last 5 years is to figure out how to be more strategic, because most people were simply being activists, if you will. Now it's about how do we really take power? How do we really make things go the way that we need them to go? And while we can continue to fight on Capitol Hill and elect congressional non-corporate representatives, no matter what anybody tells you, that's still the right way to go, even if it's not moving fast enough. But you have to look at what you could be doing at the ground level, especially at the state level. And if at the state level, they are going to decriminalize cannabis, that's good enough, because eventually everybody's going to do it, because they're going to realize that they're going to lose state funding if they don't legalize it, because people will simply move out to a state that has it. And that is no one wants that.
It's so ridiculous from a revenue perspective to not, it's clearly beneficial. Crime has actually been down in places that have legalized weed. I know in Colorado for sure their crime rate was down over the years since legalization. Now it probably was down anyway as well, but point being, it is not a problem.
No, they make it to be something more than it really is. And that's the whole point is, we are not living in a situation where people need to be treating this as anything other than a recreational, enjoyment, if you will. You could call it a drug, you call it whatever you want, but the truth is cannabis is something that has way more pros than it has cons.
Yes.
Does it have cons? Sure it does. Like anything. Anything can be a vice.
What are the cons?
Well, you can abuse it and obviously hurt your brain cells if you smoke it all day, every day.
Whatever.
But definitely something that should not be in anybody's business. If you want to smoke cannabis, if you want to smoke cannabis, you should have every right to do that.
I am not really, I know that young people do it, and I'm not like hypocritical and thinking that, would tell them not to, but that is the only thing that is just because their brains are still developing. But, I kind of survived. No,
I think you're okay.
I turned out okay.
You're okay. I'm not going to say great.
That's what I was going to say. It's not like, an ringing endorsement, but yeah, pretty decent.
No, but I think everyone would agree that it's definitely at the point now where it does make sense to legalize it. And the more we make things just become more commonplace, like universal health care, like universal basic income, that's where this is going to become commonplace.
And now
people will accept it.
What's his goal? Where's he going? What's he up to? Because I don't trust him as far as I could throw him.
Mayor Garcetti is trying to implement a test run for universal basic income, means tested, if you will, in Los Angeles. And is that a good thing? Yeah, it's a great thing. I think it could definitely work.
I think it's a very good thing.
I think they definitely will see some positives come of it, especially if they focus on the areas of LA that need the most help, Compton, Inglewood, and Watts in particular. And ultimately, if they are able to generate revenue so that way they can lift people out of extreme poverty, that is just going to have incredible benefit.
I'm just curious what's his angle?
His angle is there's going
to be in it for him.
There's going to be a U.S. Senate race coming up.
Okay, that's what's in it for him.
Because remember, the person who was selected to become the next U.S. Senator by Governor Newsom is Alex Padilla, who is a complete hack for the party. So it's not like he has any real established
and so he has in
it's definitely
next year is a
they're
Senate
definitely going to have a primary in California.
Okay, so there's his angle, because it wasn't I wasn't feeling it that Garcetti just woke up and just felt like had such a conscience and just
Jen has a not so positive opinion about Mayor
I have not so positive opinion about most of these establishment goons, and I think they're all just nepotistic, monarchic families of goons.
Seizing on the opportunity is essentially what you're alluding
and it's they're opportunists, but these are people that are born with the opportunity. He's where he is because of his dad. And it's no different than Cuomo. In California, you've got, it's the same thing. It's these families that sort of entrench themselves, like we have monarchies in this country, like the Clintons or the Bushes or the Obamas. And this is just that on a city level. And so, I generally find it just grotesque.
It is grotesque, and it isn't ending anytime soon, because now they want the Trump kids to get involved. Apparently, even though she's not blood related, but who's the one in North Carolina? That's what was her name? The other one, Lara Trump. Yeah, so she's going to end up running for the U.S. Senate. Then all of this nepotism never ends. But the bottom line is, if you have a good cause that you're fighting for, like UBI, you got to start somewhere. And if ultimately Andrew Yang or even Dianne Morales, both who support UBI, end up becoming the mayor of New York City, I have no doubt that they'll test it there too. We know that Mayor de Blasio ain't going to do that. So we've just got to, hopefully get in somebody who understands that these types of promoting the general welfare the right way is what is going to allow us to get to that point. But of course, we have amazing activists on the ground who have the ability to do tremendous work in lots of different areas. But New York City has certainly grown, as we've said, exponentially in that department over the past few years. And one of those people who has played a key role in that is your slate mate and friend, Lauren Ashcraft. She has done an exceptional job running for Congress. And now, of course, she has been working, I believe, as a surrogate for Dianne Morales' campaign for mayor. And she has a lovely podcast that she's going to talk to us about. So without further ado, we are bringing on a super califragilisticexpialidocious person to our podcast.
Yeah.
Lauren Ashcraft.
Hi. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see your faces again.
Hello.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm so good. I love the chalk art of my name in the background. That's really cute. That's adorable.
Thank you. I want to tell you, the only other person, since we've been doing this, how many times? I mean, every time I do it.
Is it the length of the name or something?
No. Well, no. Okay. Lauren, arguably, Ashcraft is longer. It's 8 letters, usually 7. I can do pretty easily, but 8 I get. But the only other person who's ever commented and appreciated it was Nina Turner.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Nina. And then you are the only, I just think that's interesting.
Thank you. To be in the same sentence as Nina Turner, I am honored.
I'm just saying she was the first person, and now you are the second person that has appreciated my little thing.
Nina and I are vibing, and I really love that. Thank you. You made my day.
So for anybody, this is Lauren, who ran for Congress in New York's 12th, right? It was 12.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes.
And is now working on, tell everyone like what you're doing now politically, and then we'll get into the show.
Well, I do a lot. So I actually work on a city council campaign right now. Her name is Julia Foreman, and she is running in District 26, which is where I live. So it's really fun to try to help the next person that I find amazing represent me. And then I also am helping by volunteering for Dianne Morales, who I also hope to have representing me. So you might see a trend. I really like bold women.
No, that's how you get things done.
Right? I mean, you're my friend. I ran for Congress. I really like bold women who run for office. And whatever I can do to support, I'm really happy.
I think it'd be very important to share, as a lot of people really need to know. And if you can hit the retweet and like button and all that, guys, just get this out there. Lauren, if you could do that as well. We want to get as many people watching as we can. I've always said, I know a lot of people are not completely enthralled with AOC and what she's done, as of late. And obviously there are arguments to be made about her strategy, whether it's effective or not. But one thing I think cannot be disputed is how effective her victory over Joe Crowley has been for the progressive movement in New York City, and what that has meant for a multitude of different candidates, such as yourself, such as obviously Jamal Bowman, who's also slate mate and ended up winning, Mondaire Jones as well. And now, of course, you have Dianne Morales running for the mayoral race in New York City. If you could talk about the impact that AOC's run had and what it's meant for the progressive movement in the last few years and how you feel New York City stands at this point, that'd be great. Yeah,
I think it's our home. And I think I ran in New York 12. She represents New York 14. So for me, it was really, really great to see her at rallies and to kind of see that energy. We learned about AOC, my partner and I. He got a postcard under his door when she first ran. And I had never seen somebody that young run for something, and it just got my wheels turning. So the impact that she's had on people, I don't think you can really measure it. She gets a lot of shit from a lot of people all the time. And I understand we can never really truly agree with one person 100% of the time. Jen, I'm sure we don't even, but I love you.
No. Yeah, no. And, I always defend, I always say, look, it's just punching sideways to go after her. There's no point to it. She doesn't take corporate money. She does seem to be on the right side of issues. Strategically, she's done some things that I find maybe a little bit naive on her part. I don't attribute any ill will to her. I don't attribute anything nefarious or sellout or anything like that. I'm not psyched that she gave money to military industrial complex Democrats. That doesn't psych me. If that were my representative, I'd probably send an email saying as much, that I don't appreciate that. But I don't have there's no beef with her. She's just trying to do the best she can.
Yeah. And I think also one of the things that I bring up sometimes is there's over 400 other people in Congress that are representing us. And the fact that we're focused on her 100% of the time raises a lot of eyebrows for me. She is a 30-year-old woman of color.
Yeah.
There are 70-year-olds that have been doing the same terrible shit for 40 years. And nobody even knows their name. My parents are represented by Glenn Thompson. Does anyone know who he is?
No.
We should get him out of office.
Well, and here's the thing I think that people don't realize, you talk about, yes, she's young. And I do think that's a big factor in it. And as somebody who's old enough to be her mother, I think about that there is a certain wisdom and maturity. So Nina brings something to the table that AOC wouldn't have based on there's just life skills and experience, right? But I do think that's one of the reasons why it's so interesting that people are so harsh on her. They're being harshest on the person who's been there basically the shortest amount of time.
Yeah.
The people that have been sitting there for generations are the people that are the problem.
This is also why people put way too much faith into, there's hero worship, especially in politics. It is very dangerous. And you see people right now with the way they defend Biden and the way they defend Pelosi. And it's if they do something good, you give them credit for it. But when they are habitually bad, you defending them just makes it worse. And I think the key is really, if we focus on core issues, I'm hearing that there's a very strong push in New York right now in the state legislature to push forward some type of a single payer, if it's a public option. I don't want to mess it up, so I don't want to, misconstrue exactly what it is. But if you could talk about, where universal healthcare stands in New York right now.
We're sure you're involved somehow.
Oh, yes.
I'm really excited about it. I personally, domestic partnered. I don't know if that's the right word. My amazing partner made it legal with me during my congressional run, so I didn't die. Now we're getting married, so we're doing it out of love.
That. Well, look, I've already I texted her. I knew.
Yeah, no, you're wonderful.
When are you getting married, by the way?
August 27th.
Nice.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited, but we're doing that out of love. But he did this for me so that I wouldn't die. But I think like the fact that we had to have that conversation is really upsetting to me, and I think it's crazy that like I have family in so many different countries. Like I'm part Japanese, so like my family will say to me, like, oh, I went to the doctor today, I got surgery, guess how much it cost me? And I'm like, I know where this is going, $0, right? They're like, yeah, $0, how'd you know? Ha ha. And I'm like,
yeah, it's not a laughing matter in this country anymore.
It must be nice. It must be really nice. I got my annual exam blood test, and I got a $2,000 bill. So that was from my checkup. So it's really fun here. And in New York, we're taking some strides to make sure that doesn't happen to us. It's called the New York Health Act, and it just made it through the assembly. So where it is right now is in the New York State Senate. And we have a supermajority now so that Andrew Cuomo cannot block every ounce of progress. And we actually just, we made cannabis legal in the state as well, which is great, super great.
And you ended qualified immunity.
Yeah, we're taking a lot of different steps forward. But like the cannabis, Andrew Cuomo, he's getting all this credit, but people forget that he was the one to block it for so long. And now that we both know Lindsey Boylan, she's a badass, brave woman who came forward about his sexual harassment. And if it weren't for this entire line of complaints against him, I honestly don't think that we would be getting all this stuff passed. He just is trying to move the news away from how guilty he is. So we have a lot of stuff happening in New York, good and bad stuff, and I am really excited. I am not running for Congress this time around, but I will be joining a committee to help choose a challenger for Andrew Cuomo. So.
Ooh, very exciting.
Well, I know who I would like to see run again, but of course, that's a decision she's going to have to make, Miss Nixon. Certainly, if somebody else, maybe Zephyr might be thinking about it. Maybe you might be thinking about it.
No, she is not. Yeah. She wants to have a life.
Yeah, she wants.
Lauren wants to have a life. Lauren's trying.
That's why I'm cut out for politics, because I don't have a life.
Exactly.
This is my life. I don't have kids. I'm not married. I'm single. I can do whatever I want.
Right.
So yeah, I can do this nonsense.
Well, Lauren has a life.
But hey, for those of you out there who think that California is the bastion of progressive politics in this country, no. New York is where it's at. Because
it is right now. It hasn't been, but we've had people like Vocal New York is an amazing organization that's been advocating for legalized cannabis for years. And we have so many different Citizens Action of New York, so many organizations that have been pushing for the New York Health Act to move forward. So this is it's been going on for a long time, and also a lot of really cool assembly members and state senators that are great advocates and partners. But we've had Andrew Cuomo sitting there just stopping everything and harassing women. So
and that's amazing. And for people like for us in Florida, we have an extremely Republican legislature to the point where basically the Democrats, the best they can do is sometimes damage control. Like they're not pushing anything forward. Like there's nothing going forward. It's all just playing defense. So we don't even, and then we have a Republican governor who will shoot just jump right in with them. So like nothing really is good. You have a Democrat governor who's shutting down the stuff that's good. That's just Democrats, exactly. And it's just really interesting. And but they are making progress, and we're clearly not.
We saw the defense that a lot of people put up, front-wise for Trump for a very long time. Can you talk about what it's been like? Because it does seem that there is definitely a contingent of New Yorkers who basically are just blind sycophants to Cuomo, and whether that's because they may be older and they're very sympathetic to Mario Cuomo's legacy, and he clearly was a better, governor than his son is, but nonetheless, there just seems to be this hyper-partisan tribalism that I think is extremely dangerous these days, and they're really just willing to cast it aside, even at the expense of so many brave women like Lindsay, who had the courage to come forward and basically put herself out there in a way that I'm sure she's still dealing with it at this point, from men and women. So I'm curious as to how that's been reflective in this whole very tribalistic period of politics that we're in right now, that, like I said, I think it's at like a boiling point where you just don't know where it's going to go.
So I have like a very personal story about this, because I've been petitioning out on the street to get my candidate into city council, and you have to ask someone if they're registered Democrat, which is fun. You forget that in New York we actually have a lot of Republicans. So I forget that, which is very bad of me. But you walk around, you walk up to strangers and you ask them if they're registered Democrat. I cannot tell you how many times people would be like, absolutely not after what you guys did to Andrew Cuomo. So I don't know what's going on there, but like,
wow,
the supporters are super, like, we are not in the same group. Like,
right.
I don't know.
They're Cuomoites. They're not Democrats. They're just
Yeah.
wherever he is. They just support him. They're not necessarily party people.
We had on Thursday or Monday on our last podcast, we actually had somebody from Twitch come on our stream and basically say, I'm an older Democrat, and I really don't like what you young people are doing, trying to take over this party. And then they proceed to get into this. I asked them, I said, well, what specifically do you have an issue with? And they start getting into, well, I don't have a problem with fracking or this. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, there you go.
He was pro fossil fuel. I'm like, well, I don't know why you think that represents the Democratic Party in some way.
Well, the Democratic Party, as it currently is constructed, we're trying to change.
But it wasn't supposed to be that.
I really think that if you could get away from having to say, are you Democrat or Republican, and just focus on issues, that it just eases.
So you can only get signatures from people that are party affiliated.
Yeah, unless there's like certain circumstances that are very strange. Like if you're a notary, you can sign regardless of your party. So it's like little things like that, which are
and this is just to get on the ballot.
Just to get on the ballot.
Anybody can sign to get on the ballot. It doesn't have to be party person here.
Okay, well,
and we have closed primaries.
So in New York, you could be any party affiliation to sign the petition, or you need to be in the
you have to be in the party.
Oh wow! See, down here in Florida, you could be any.
He's not like he's a little bit behind.
I'm catching up.
It's like,
us guys are just like Neanderthals. That's how.
But sign for you to get on, but they can't vote for you.
Oh yeah. It's only, you have to be a registered Democrat to sign a Democrat's petition here, unless you're a notary. Whatever.
Notary.
Yeah, well, you could. I think you have to be registered in New York, though.
I'm sure I do.
One last political issue that I would like to talk about before we get to the podcast. Lauren has a lovely podcast, as you can see, Biting Commentary. We highly recommend that everybody goes there, like, subscribe, watch some videos, make some comments. Gotta boost up our buddy here. But one last thing that I do want to talk about, which I think is important, we saw what the establishment was willing to do to Bernie during the primary, the lengths that they were willing to go to make sure that he did not become the nominee, the cultivating of every single candidate and resource that they could to basically make sure that it looked like Biden was the one and Bernie was just out there in the wind. The two non-establishment candidates in the mayoral race are Dianne Morales and Andrew Yang. And I do believe right now, it seems pretty clear to me that the Democratic Party machine of New York City is trying to get everybody behind Scott Stringer. That's what it appears is happening. Now, I could be wrong because I'm not in the city. I'm only looking at.
He wants to know if you know the inside scoop to what's going on there.
So I am like all cards in on Dianne Morales. I know Andrew Yang. We've talked. I find him to be a very compassionate human. But some of the things that he has a lot of gaffes, and doesn't seem to quite get, like, he went after like little, like, mom and pop street vendors last week, I think it was, and just seems to be like a little bit disconnected from what the real issues are here. So Andrew, if you're listening, I sincerely mean this from the bottom of my heart. I would love to talk with you, because if you have a chance to represent me, I would love to help you reprioritize. And until that happens, I'm just the only candidate that I'm really pushing right now is Diane Morales, who I've met at protests.
We had her on. She came on the show.
Oh, I'm so glad. She's lovely.
Yeah. So people should check out that interview. In our little library.
And Diane is, look, I saw the numbers. I mean, she's got a lot of cash on hand now. So she's definitely got, and Semilis Lopez is working with the campaign now as well, I believe.
Yeah.
So there's some more of the BNC, alums that are getting on board. And listen, I've said this before and I'll say it again. I know people don't like to talk about future plans or anything like that, but if for whatever reason Diane does not win the primary race,
this is his strategy.
She has got to run against Hakeem Jeffries, because I think that her name recognition will be big enough where she is the type of viable challenger in his district, because we all know that he's the one that basically is lying in wait until Pelosi decides that she's going to step away. And I think if there is an opportunity to get him, this is assuming, of course, that things don't work out.
He spends his free time planning these things for other people.
I would, you know what?
He has a plan.
Think of it this way. Mayor Pete is already planning 2028. He is already way ahead of everybody else in terms of what he's going to do. So I think we have to start thinking like they think and think, all right, well, we got to be strategic in terms of what we do. And I definitely think, oh, that's beautiful. So we got to put that up. Wonderful news. Yay! Diane Morales is just endorsed by the Sunrise Movement. So that is, if you think that's not significant,
it's very significant.
That is significant, because that is the ultimate.
They put in volunteer man hours,
phone banking, text banking, and the like. That was the one endorsement that Jen did not get against Wasserman Schultz that I really wish that she did get, and I think would have made a huge difference in the outcome. Maybe not have won.
We digress.
But that, without question, for Diane is tremendous.
That is
1,000%.
Yeah, she's amazing, and just the level of human that she is. My cat died in November, and she checked in on me to make sure, we know each other. I know she's she's been very busy, obviously, but the fact that she was "Are you okay?" and she knew that would really gut me. I'm even wearing a demon cat shirt, so you can't tell I love cats, but she knew that and she checked in on me. She's just so real. You've met her now.
Yeah, no, I think she's great. And I've said it many times. And I'm like you, and I like Andrew Yang, and I've spoken with him a few times, and I think he's very sincere, and I think he means well. And if I lived there, I would be voting for Diane Morales.
But that is the beautiful part about having ranked choice voting.
And let's be very clear on that, people. That's a very important thing to know going into this.
And that is one of the mistakes that a lot of people
I would be her one and put him two. Yeah. That's what I would
I would implore anybody to do that, because the one thing that New York City unfortunately has had since the days of Fiera LaGuardia, and this is going back 60, 70 years, is you basically have a party machine that runs New York City. Even when Giuliani and Bloomberg were mayor, there was the same problem. And this is something where having an outsider like Diane, or even an outsider like Andrew, I think will have tremendous impact on what you'll be able to accomplish in the city.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of ranked choice. We don't have that option.
No, but we do think that we need to get that on the ballot here, and I think
get it.
Yes, ballot
ranked choice voting.
Well, you'd be surprised. We almost passed jungle primaries here in Florida. That's how. If you're able to get that going, and I think jungle primaries is completely nuts. But if you're able to even make that type of an impact, I can only imagine that ranked choice voting is something that, if we were able to get it on the ballot, probably would pass. But then again, we did pass a $15 minimum wage, and the Florida GOP does everything in their capacity to make sure that never comes to pass.
Every time we pass something, they try to undermine it with different legislation.
And like Jeff Brandes. And not only do they try to undermine it, but when I tell you The Florida GOP is cut from a completely different cloth.
Yeah, you
they
can't
purposely
understand.
go after the most vulnerable with their legislation. Like, if you had any idea what they
No,
put on,
and it's like our Dem reps are always just playing defense.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are. But
Yeah,
with that,
it's a shame.
yeah, but with that said, we do want to continue to build this network. The one thing that ultimately ends up happening, as I'm sure you're aware, with a lot of these online channels, these podcasts that people start, very often people don't want to check their ego at the door. They don't recognize that we have to build these networks all over the place, because corporate media, regardless of whether they're, Fox News, MSNBC, CNN, they are always going to work together to crush non-corporate power like we're trying to take.
Yeah.
So if you can talk about your new podcast, Biden Commentary,
Which is so cute. And well, talk about where it came from, because like us, you ran and you had like a platform sort of going. So talk a little bit about that.
Oh my gosh, thank you guys. I'm really continually moved by everyone's kindness to help get the word out. So thank you. Yes, I do have a new podcast. It's called Biting Commentary. It's on YouTube, but I also stream it to Twitter Sunday nights Eastern at 8 p.m. And it is called Biting Commentary because if you follow me at all at Vote Ashcraft, you probably know that I have pretty straightforward takes. And I also really like to eat food. So I do both. I eat food and spit some hot takes on my new podcast. And I have guests that I really would like to elevate. Jen, I hope you come on sometime.
Oh, I'd be totally happy to come on.
8 p.m. on Sundays?
Yes, 8 p.m. on
8 p.m.
Sundays.
Sundays.
If you follow me at Vote Ashcraft, you can tune in there on Twitter. But
so then when you're done, but when it's done though, people, because you don't always get people necessarily live. So, especially when you have like an interview or a guest, so you'll still have your episodes though, right? Like people can still watch. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you go to YouTube, it's Biting Commentary. Our 2 episodes are there.
So who have you had on so far? Who was your first guest?
Yeah, my first guest was Andres Bernal, and he was so forgiving because we had a bunch of tech issues. We're totally live, as you guys are.
We're all, twice a week. It's live.
We're faking it till we make it, baby.
I mean, it's ballsy. I love it. It's I love just being authentic and being out there. Our first guest was Andres, and he talked about MMT with me and was so gracious because we dropped his call 3 times. But the second guest, it's so sweet to have people on that I really care about. We had my really, really good friend, Ed Pokropsky, who produces the Asian Comedy Festival. And we talked about, I'm part Japanese, he is Korean, and we talked about what it's like to be
practically
Asian.
twins.
Yeah, we're having a lot of fun, and he's producing an amazing show that highlights Asian American talent right now, which is great. So definitely follow at Asian Comedy Fest, which is Ed. And then on this Sunday, we're having Kat Bresler at People for Bernie. And she will be talking about what it means to be on the community board in New York City, which is the most local level of government here. So even cool. More local than city council is something called a community board, where people get to serve and make advisory decisions at the very local level. So we want to talk about that.
Yeah, you don't even want to know how
we have, well, there's advisory committees at the city commission level, but there's no power, like there's no there. It's almost like just a token thing.
It's not that I don't think it could happen. It's that I just think that there are people who are just waiting for somebody to really step up and lead the charge. And that's kind of just how it is in a lot of ways. In Florida, I think Florida's ground zero for a real economic populist uprising because of all the issues that we do have. There's really this old guard in the Democratic Party. Wasserman Schultz may be in her mid-50s, but she's been in politics for 30 years, starting next year. So when you're around for that long, when it's a career, you don't have ambition to make things better. It's all about, I'm just comfortable and I'm going to stick with it.
It's just maintaining the status quo. They just got to maintain their
And so the same
seat.
is true. Yeah, the same is true for a lot of the, well, not the city commission per se, but the county commission, absolutely. And a lot of the other representatives that are there, which is why, as we know, Representative Alcee Hastings, did unfortunately pass away recently. And now you are going to see everyone and their mother running for that seat.
There's it's like vultures on a carcass.
Because whoever wins that seat could easily sit there for 30 years themselves. And that's the problem with the political system that we have, especially in this state. And so when we see the momentum that's building where you are, it's really a beautiful sight to see, because we wish we had that down here.
Well, we're looking at it like sort of a blueprint. I mean, like what to, I wanted to ask you, like, so you're doing this weekly, and you'll see where it goes. We started out doing once a week as well, and now we're up to twice a week because we were getting so many.
You also shout out to you, Jen, because you helped me get set up. You took a bunch of calls to help me figure out all this tech stuff. So,
oh my God, I don't know what look, I just tell you what we did, of course. And look how you had technical difficulties. That's because it was me who was helping. That's probably why.
No, you really helped. I love this whole concept of women supporting women, and I'm on that Catch Fire advisory board. Yeah, you mean, is it the Savage Joy?
Ava's group. Ava.
Oh, Ava.
And so there's 14 people on the board, so we vote for endorsements and stuff. And I'm supposed to be interviewing Michaela. I have to be interviewing Michaela for an endorsement.
We got to get her.
Totally unbiased.
No, but
I said, is it okay that I know her? I mean, but the truth is, everybody on our board is kind of it wouldn't matter who it was. It's all people that it wouldn't matter.
I think it's very important also that, you do keep in touch. You build these relationships, especially with the people who ran on the BNC slate. I just see very often that, that doesn't ultimately end up happening. And I think it's very important that we do recognize that having these relationships, especially cross country, really does make a difference, because the more the more people the easier it is to build momentum for, whatever issue, cause, or even candidate, that may be running. And the fact that you guys have, really, kept good communication, I think is great. Same with Michaela, same with Ava.
Yeah. I mean, the truth is, I'll talk to, Jason was on here at one point. Jason Call was on here.
And we had Isaiah.
And Isaiah, we had Isaiah.
Isaiah James, who's running in New York's 9th.
Yeah.
I mean, how can you not love that guy?
I mean, and the thing, the thing is that we give platform to basically anybody who's on our team, because that's sort of the point. But did you happen to catch at the beginning of this episode my new series called The Kente Cloth Tales?
Oh my God, no.
Did you not see The Kente Cloth Tales? Is it okay if I share it with Lauren?
Yeah.
Okay, because this pleases me. I've been very into Canva.
Oh, I'm so excited for this.
So it's an anthology of tone deafness, the Kente Cloth Tales. And I actually started today's episode. Today was the first of them. And today I went to play the video of Nancy Pelosi's reaction to the Chauvin conviction.
Oh my gosh!
And I went to play it, but apparently my audio didn't work because, again, technical difficulties.
Thank you for sacrificing.
But so now I basically have this. Anytime someone does something of the complete tone deaf variety, I'm going to make it into the Kente Cloth Tales. So,
I love that, and you made that in Canva. I'm very impressed, Jen.
I do all sorts of stuff.
Jen has a real skill, Lauren, for graphic art.
Oh my God.
Like, she did that. I mean, that's pretty
You're
good.
making me look cooler than I am.
I like how you were able to put the generational change logo on the
very
crest.
crafty.
Really
I've gotten really good at this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I was going to say, Lauren, if you want, we could bootlick or whatever. We don't.
You know what? Yeah, you know what, Lauren? You're like going to become what I would call. What do they call it? A friend of the show?
You need to be friend of the show.
Yeah, you're going to be friend of the show.
And you could be like our New York correspondent. But
oh yeah.
But if you appreciate the graphics, you should definitely stay for this week's bootlicker. So as you see on your graphic, we say change maker. So we have I keep a chronology of guests. And we're in the process of doing our web page. And so on our web page, there'll be like change makers, and there'll be your picture and a link to whatever your project is.
Oh, how cute.
Right. So, and it could be political people. It could be, activists. It could be authors. I try to get authors if I read books I like. So that's the change maker. And then we talk about the weekly bootlicker, and the weekly bootlicker this week.
How do I
just roll the thing? Roll it the other way. There.
Okay. Our weekly bootlicker could be none other than, of course, James Carville. James Carville had to be the bootlicker of the week.
This is what we do. So every week there's our bootlicker. But okay, but this one in particular is really cool because, move that so we could see the thing. Yeah, you got to.
You're doing great.
Yeah.
So.
And this was totally fun. Yeah.
I love that. And also, please, dear God, don't let me become a bootlicker so that I don't end up like this on your show.
You would never be
Not
a bootlicker.
chance. And again, it's so easy to just pick on, like this person, that person.
No, we don't. We do it for people that are really sycophants to the establishment.
And Carville,
there's nothing you would do that would ever put you in that category.
Now, for those who are watching who may not be aware, and the reason why we picked Mr. Carville as our bootlicker of the week, he was on with Brian Williams on MSNBC the other day and was basically going after Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yeah, easy enough. Everyone can go after her.
Low-hanging fruit.
Low-hanging fruit. And then he wants to talk about how we've got AOC on our side, even though she's a little naive, thinking that we're going to give everybody health care.
No, she said that we're going to give everybody health insurance.
Health insurance. And you're just like, this guy, I think he just likes being the center of attention, and he always knows when he's going to be coming out with some stupid line.
Ugh.
He's married. Not only is he one of the top bundler, or I guess what you would call consultant strategist for the Democratic Party, because he came up with the Democrats' own version of the third way Southern strategy when he was, I don't know what his title was for Bill Clinton's 92 election, but he had a significant role. Yeah, here's the reason why Bill Clinton became president in 1992. 2 words, Ross Perot. That's why he became president. So whatever strategy you think you came up with, that's not why you won. But nevertheless, this is a guy who's been running off of that for the past 30 years. And not only is he one of the highest paid consultants in the Democratic Party, his wife, Madeline. She's one of the top consultants as well for the GOP.
Well, right. That to me has always almost been, it really does seem like a grift. It really does. It seems like it really does seem ridiculous.
This is a grift.
Standing up though, right?
Oh, if you see the way that they live.
Won.
Oh no, you have to see the way they live. They have, I think, like 3 different homes.
Oh my God, they live like royalty. They did a whole spread in like Vanity Fair or something. They live like their house on the inside looks like what Trump's house looks like on the inside.
Yeah, no, tacky can get, expensive
and elitist,
but tacky, completely. Like it's just
so like politics shouldn't look like that. If they do, I could spin this around. There's too many wires, but you would see my like 4x4 apartment.
Yeah.
But that's the point. This is supposed to be a term of service, not a career. And I mean, and that's ultimately what we're trying to do is transform politics into service. That's our catchphrase.
And they are what you would truly call the swamp of DC. Like that is what they are.
Anybody who is in the Clintons pool of sycophantism is definitely part of the problem.
Well, and again, for them, it's all about money. So basically, you could be a Democrat or you could be a Republican. If you're a Democrat and you want the consultant help of the highest order, you go to Mr. Carville. And if you want the GOP help, you go to Mary. And that's the way it goes. And that's this political, power brokering that they have established over the past 3-4 decades. But here's a guy who just can't help himself to basically say, you fools, you think you're going to get health care in this country?
Health insurance.
Health insurance. How's that going to help?
She thinks everybody should get health insurance. How naive.
What use? How much corporate money is he going to lose if we had a universal healthcare system in this country? Because that's all they're thinking.
Is like the people that would be most affected by that negatively, like you can live multiple lifetimes and not bat an eye if you get like $0 more. Like the big CEOs of these huge health insurance companies, like they have just raked it in. You don't have to worry for the rest of your life. But like us, who are just like really, really waiting tooth and nail and like trying hard to advocate for the New York Health Act, just because like people die without it.
You know what? Wait, I was just going to let you know. So we had Wendell Potter on last week. And do you know who I'm talking about? And it was we were talking about healthcare executives that were raking in the bucks.
Yeah.
And he is someone that is, Peter was speaking with him today. I'm working on the same kind of healthcare legislation in his state of Pennsylvania. That's where he is.
All right, so I've come up with a name. I'm going to put it out there.
He's branding and marketing is everything to him. My thing is respect the people healthcare. Their name is just New York Healthcare.
Speaking of branding and marketing.
You see what I have to deal with?
You know, I really have to come on here and let all of you know that everything is about marketing. It's really incredible. And when you come up with a great idea, like Make America Great Again, you repeat it 1,000 times and everybody believes you because it's a really great idea. When you think of me, you think of Make America Great Again. Is that what you think of?
Oh my gosh, you're giving me like flashbacks. Jen,
it's not good.
Listen,
you guys have him down there now. He's just in Florida these days.
He says
I just strolled over from Mar-a-Lago.
He's the king of Mar-a-Lago. Yeah. That's what he.
Well, I've been writing my Trumpstitution. It's the law of the land, and it's a really great.
He's creating a Trumpstitution.
Oh, it's really, really great.
Oh my God!
45 laws that basically protect me from any prosecution. It's really incredible, and I'm totally.
He's gonna call you and say that you have good ideas.
Oh, no, I have great ideas, and you can't extradite me to New York. It's totally not going to happen. Total non-extradition from the state of Florida. It's really incredible, and that's one of the laws.
All right, make him
marketing,
go away.
Really, really great. Just wanted to say hello. You're a lovely lady.
I'm going to smudge.
Sorry, I'm not in New York anymore.
Go away.
I'm going to pull out my sage. Sage.
This is the nonsense, the shenanigans, and actually. If he could get it together, we're working on a new character that I think is going to be really entertaining.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
We can't say yet, because I think that could be really.
No, but I got a few.
Pull it out next time I'm on.
But I hope you enjoyed it, even if you really didn't like it. So
it was like enjoyable in the same sense that I like to watch horror movies.
Okay.
I'm scared, but like also entertained.
I'll take that as a compliment.
But your show is going to be dealing with issues like we are. It's going to be this. It's going to be a commentary on what's going on in the in the news and in politics.
So assuming that there's no copyright issue here, because obviously I think this is very catchy. This would be for the state of Pennsylvania. What do you guys think about this name
just crazy.
For the statewide initiative to have single payer health care in Pennsylvania?
See, nobody cares that much about the name of it. That's what I told you. It's just not that big of a thing.
People might be confused because, like, Penn State is a university.
That's what I said, and he didn't like that I said that.
Well, Penn State University.
Are you gonna ban me from the show now?
No, that's what I said.
No, because we only want yes people on our show that just agree.
I said to him, it doesn't matter. I think just get the people.
Great idea.
People healthcare. So I think that. So we're going to help with this.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that this is definitely, well, I think Pennsylvania is also a great state because we don't really, you need one of those states where it's definitely got a rural part to it, much like New York State has. But of course, there isn't I don't know what type of roadblocks you're going to hit in New York. I know that Pennsylvania, having the ability to communicate with Wendell, who's the type of contacts.
Definitely you should be mirroring what they're doing in places that are having some success.
Yes,
so if it's New York or whole Washington.
But one of the things that ultimately doesn't get focused on enough is that there's also a lot of people on the left that do have an anti-business streak, and that's not good. And you have to focus on areas like, for example, small and even big business, because for them, it's a financial incentive to have universal health care. You don't want to have to pay for your employees' health care if you can avoid it. So I would think just that alone is one of the easiest ways to sell it, because essentially, they're all the people who don't want the system to change are selling it from the perspective of, you're just wanting government takeover of healthcare. No, what we want is government-funded healthcare that doesn't have for-profit middlemen that have no reason to exist. The second that happens is when everything changes on the positive for everybody. Like you said, you had a serious health issue. You don't need a $2,000 bill. What you need is care. That is what it is for, because you can't function, you can't live without it. So to me, like you said,
sounds like they might get this through there. I'm very excited for you. You know, we're going to be going down with the ship down here in Florida.
Well, like you said, it's
Florida.
If you are
come be my neighbor.
Yeah, right.
I can't afford to live in New York.
Yeah, New York's expensive.
Neither can we.
Yeah, well, you know, and I have
broom closets. You know, those cost a lot of money in those.
Yeah,
places.
I hate to say this, and in any way other, like, it's not sort of a snotty way. I couldn't live how close quarters you guys live. And by you guys, I mean anybody that's not in the millionaire class in the city. Okay.
I guarantee you, though, even though it's definitely a colder climate, Jen would definitely love Dutchess County.
No, I love cold. Cold is not my
Okay.
issue. Cold, I don't have a problem with cold. I could live in. I'm a mountain girl.
No, if you,
I have no problem with cold. I have a problem with that close to that many people and shared walls and shared buildings, and it's just not for me. Like I would live in a tiny house van situation and be perfectly content before I would want to be in an apartment. So it isn't like a luxury thing. It's a privacy. It's a privacy thing.
My neighbors have all heard me sing, and I'm sorry for them. And we've shared cockroaches and probably many other things.
Yeah. See,
so I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking about
I live on an acre,
through your
Lauren.
drain. They like come through your drain holes.
So
and I always
gross.
think about like, oh, you just came from my neighbor and now you're here.
I think that you have an infestation. We get palmetto bugs here, which are basically roaches that fly. And they're bigger. It's really gross.
Oh yeah, those things.
But I'm on a really big, I'm on an acre. And so we get things. There's critters, we have lizards and toads and iguanas and alligators. And, I don't have any alligators here.
Alligators are cool. I like them. I don't like palmetto bugs.
Ugh, they're roaches with wings.
No, I can't. Like those things, any kind of creepy crawlies. I'm even fine with rodents. They're kind of cute. I just don't want to share space with them, so I will humanely set them free.
Yeah.
Elsewhere.
I'm fine with everything but a trash panda. I don't like a trash panda.
Oh, they're cute.
Oh, God, no. Those are rats with hands.
No.
Rats with opposable thumbs.
Raccoons, unfortunately, are cute, but they're really, really big.
They're
pests.
disgusting.
So they're not exactly doing.
It's the only animal It's the only animal that I take beef with in this world. It's the only animal that when I see as roadkill, I'm kind of like, eh. And normally if I see roadkill, I'm like, oh, like an armadillo or one of the ducks or whatever. But when it's a trash
really
panda,
bad experience
I'm like,
with.
I've had several bad trash panda experiences, and none of the, oh no.
See, that's where it always comes from. It's always something.
I don't care. They're rats with hands. And they're smart and they know how to open doors. And it's not.
What about cockroach versus a raccoon? Which one's worse?
Well, no, I'll tell you what. The raccoon is worse because I could just take a can of Raid and spray the cockroach, and then that thing is dead, and then I don't have to even feel bad, and I could just throw it in the garbage. When you got a trash panda, I can't just kill it easily. I can't easily dispose of it. I can't, and I'm not making hats out of them.
Okay, so since we're into the creepy part of the conversation, what's the biggest rat you've ever seen in New York City?
I mean, like regularly I see them this big.
Oh my God. Okay. So to me, that's a possum. Like that's how.
I see a possum too. I was walking, I actually was in the beginning of my relationship with my partner, and we had just left a party in Sunnyside, and we walked outside and we were trying to get, I don't even know if Uber existed back then. Maybe we were trying to get a way home. And I saw something move out of the corner of my eye sitting up on a fence, like a big fence as tall as me. And I looked over and it was a possum looking at me perched on a fence. And I was like, what?
Wow.
But possums Possums are good though. They eat bugs. They eat stuff like possums are. Possums are
So
good.
so they're basically just like so they're basically just like spiders. A lot of people hate spiders, but spiders are actually very useful.
Possums are our friends. Possums are our friends, and people get weirded out by them because they think they look like giant rats. Well, they kind of do.
My friend Thomas says raccoons are cute, and I agree. And personally, the only living thing that I have beef with, other than some humans, is a cockroach.
Interesting choice. So does that mean that you are vegan, vegetarian? Are you leaning more on that?
Oh, I am a hippie. I try to be vegan, but most of the time I'm just vegetarian. But cool. I am mostly, you can just call me a hippie.
Well, I'm definitely pescatarian all the way, and I really don't have much dairy. I think it's, not too long ago, I tasted a piece of chicken and I just realized that, I don't need to eat this anymore. It's just not worth it. And,
I only eat that.
And you're basically, you're pescatarian as well.
I am pescatarian. I really don't eat. My only thing that keeps me really from being vegan is cheese. And I don't really sit there and eat it a lot, but it's on things that I eat, and I do like it. And I have a cognitive disconnect, and I feel bad about it because I know how horrible the industry is. Like, if it were just to go away, I'd miss it, but I'd be fine. Like, I would live with it. But it's there, and it's hard. It's definitely a hypocritical thing.
No,
it's a whole thing. And when you're raised with something and it tastes good, like a slice of pizza is great.
Yes.
Yes. I was just going to say, you are in New York City. Are you
going to make her name her favorite pizza place?
Well, Diane.
Spumoni Gardens.
Spumoni Gardens is your favorite? Okay. All right. I can get along with that.
Where is that?
That's in
Bensonhurst?
It's in Brooklyn. I don't remember exactly the location, but I think it's close to Coney Island. I'm pretty sure that it is. So I've been there once. That was a long time ago. Diane said her favorite place is Not Famous Ray's. I thought that was hysterical when she said that.
Not
Famous Ray's. So
great.
Yeah. If you like pizza, if you like bagel with cream cheese.
And I'm even fine doing vegan with that. The Trader Joe's vegan cream cheese is fine. I don't care.
I'm not a fan.
I don't mind. Great.
It doesn't, because for me, cream cheese is about the texture between the bagel and the Nova, right? Like the cream cheese, you're not eating it for itself. I don't, so for me, it serves purpose.
Yum.
But pizza is, when it's vegan, is gross. I'm sorry. I've not yet had one that I've really liked.
But that's also one of the great things about living in a city like New York.
Yes, you get better options.
Yeah, if you want vegan, you're not only going to get vegan, you're going to get the best there is.
Yeah, we don't have
Two Boots Pizza has really good vegan pizza. You can also get, I don't know, I don't care if I eat gluten or not, but some people do. You can get a gluten-free crust with a vegan cheese, and it tastes so good.
It sounds like it would taste like a rice cake with cardboard on it.
I thought so. I really thought so too. Happy Earth Day, Leonardo.
Happy Earth Day. Oh, hey, Leonardo.
He's a friend, local.
He is local friend. Yeah, today was Earth Day. Did you do anything for Earth Day today, Lauren?
I cleaned the community garden with my friends.
Excellent.
We have a very, very busy day packed for tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow is kind of a ridiculous situation. Yeah. I'm going on with Steve Grumbine. You know Steve, right?
Yeah, you're talking about MMT?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. He's a great guest to ever have. If you ever want to look through, if you ever see any of the guests that we've had and you want a connection or an introduction, we'd be happy to connect you with anyone who's ever been on. I generally will read a book and then reach out to an author, because I just did that the other day. So,
I read The Deficit Myth by Stephanie Kelly.
Not just
did you have Stephanie on?
No.
Haven't, but would.
So I just read this book called The Whiteness of Wealth. Highly recommend. Let me ask you your opinion on this. Can I say that I read something if I audibled it?
Yes. You listened.
That counts as reading, even if it was listening?
You read it with your mind.
Is that true? Okay, because I'm just saying, because I referenced it that I read it, but I'm like,
I'll give you that
It
one.
was lecture.
Well, because if somebody asked you what was the gist of the book,
Oh
or
yeah,
this
no, I
and
could
that,
go each chapter.
You could speak on it.
Yeah.
So then,
Okay, so I'm saying I read it. So it's called The Whiteness of Wealth, and the woman's name is Dorothy Brown. If Dorothy Brown's listening to this, I sent you an email. I'd really like you to come on my show. She is a tax law professor at Emory, and this book just came out, and it's about the bias in our things like our tax codes, like stuff that is so deep rooted that it's so beyond just social structure. Like it's just so in there. And it's just, I never thought of a lot of these
That's why
things.
I always find it very interesting, because I do believe that progressives and libertarians have a lot in common. They don't have everything in common, but there are a lot of things that they share. And one of the things that I always respected, even if I didn't fully agree with, that Rand Paul always preaches, is simplifying the tax code. And one of the reasons you do that is because when you make it more complicated, that's when you can screw people.
Well, it's basically, it's really interesting. I highly recommend it. I mean, I know you don't have like a lot of free time, but I just power through, like listening. It was so easy to listen to. I do very well with Audible with nonfiction. I haven't tried it with fiction. I don't think I would like that as much, but when it's nonfiction, it's almost like you're just getting a private lecture. That's what it feels like. And I'm doing Margaret Kimberly's book, Prejudential. I'm listening that on Audible, and she does her own work. It's her talking. So
I love
Cornell
that.
West is Cornell West. So it's like so it's almost like, I almost feel like it's better in those cases to hear it than it is to read it for people that are really good speakers.
The fact that you're in New York, if you have the opportunity, like Margaret Kimberly is in New York.
Yes,
and if you have
her come on.
not only to come on, but when it's appropriate, potentially have like a studio situation where you can do like the back and forth. She's definitely somebody. She's
great. She would be a great guest. I don't know if you are looking for different people.
I would love to hang out with her. If she can simplify my taxes, that would be great.
No, not Margaret. That's a different person.
Oh.
No, Margaret.
Margaret Kimberly is someone we had on, and she actually came back on for our Assange telethon. Mm-hmm. She has written several books, but the most recent one is called Prejudential, and it goes through each chapter is a president, and it talks about it's really cool, and it goes through basically the different white supremacist things that happened under each term, even for the people that you thought weren't so bad, right? Like even for the presidents that weren't slaveholders, and it was really interesting.
Kids in cages. Yep.
Yeah.
The book that I recently read is Mary Magdalene Revealed. It talks about how religion, especially Christianity, has been totally influenced by the patriarchy that has twisted the words that we were supposed to have read. So I really recommend that for anyone who's going through a journey. I am going through a journey this year, and it's been enlightening.
So what are you doing? I mean, you have your show, and right now you're in political season. But when that's not going on, what are you doing? I mean, because what did you do in your previous life?
Oh my gosh, I worked at a bank. And I am not going back to that.
No.
Not once you find out how it operates.
No. Yeah, exactly.
So what are you going to really do? Because I mean, obviously, yes, I want all the best for you with the podcast, but clearly that's not a career move.
Yeah, no. I have a lot of questions. If anyone out there is hiring advocates,
what do you do? What's your? I mean, obviously, organizing and activism and stuff, but are you more of a PR kind of person? Or are you more what aspect of stuff do you get involved in?
Yeah, I love digital organizing and digital marketing and any kind of advocacy for the movement. So if you need any of that, I'm right here at Vote Ashcraft.
How do you not like this lady?
No, everyone likes her.
I mean, a lot of people don't. A lot of people
because she's sweet and cute and all that, but she has a bite, and she's going to say what it is. And so it's very pleasant. You kind of remind me a little bit of, what's her name from Queen's Gambit?
I don't know.
Oh my God, that's so adorable.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, is it Anya Taylor-Joy?
Yeah, by the way, that's a great show. Highly recommend for everybody.
It's really good.
You watched it, right?
Yeah. It's really good.
But
great.
yeah, no, you have a very sweet and pretty face, but I know that you are not to be messed with.
I think more than anything else, it's the fact that you just really come off like an extremely positive person, like you're really full of zest in life and stuff like that. And there's a lot of miserable people out there that when they see that, they find a reason not to like you because you're happy and they're miserable as hell.
Oh my God. One time I posted a picture, I bought a used bike. From my neighbor who might be watching. She's very supportive of my endeavors. Thank you if you're watching. I bought her used bicycle and I got trolled for that. They said that I am a privileged banker.
That's a new one.
Bankers are not people that work at a bank.
Yeah. I was a project manager who hated my life, and my bicycle was the only thing that was bringing me happiness for a little bit. So thanks for that, guys. Just kidding. I'm good.
And that's one of the hardest parts. When you run for office is, especially as a woman, and especially if you're an attractive woman, I mean, you really have to put yourself out there. It is really difficult.
I don't have that problem then.
Yeah, but she will say things like she'll say things very pleasantly with a smile, but it's going to still be speaking truth to power. And people don't like that. People don't like to be called on their crap. And even if you say it pleasantly, if it's not what they want to hear, they're not going to like you. And so Lauren's going to have haters, maybe not as many haters as we have because I'm not as nice as she is.
Well, Jen had a recent situation with some local people that are local activists who really, took it extremely personal that Jen is against vaccine passports. It's like, it's one thing.
I wasn't speaking of traveling to other countries. Yeah. Okay. I get that we need different things to go to different countries. That's nothing new.
But even if you disagree with it, they treat it as if like she's like a heretic.
Like I'm a crazy anti-vaxxer because I have civil liberty concerns.
It just, to me, it's one of the hardest parts about.
So this is a good question from Keith.
Yeah. I mean, like having passports just reminds me very much of like, when the Nazis asked people to show their identification, which feels weird to me. And I also think about, like people who maybe aren't here legally, which, I mean, I'm for open borders, which is another discussion for another time, but
but it's an extra thing that can only really penalize people.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not for open borders, but we can have that conversation. I'm not going to think you're a terrible person because that's what you believe, or vice versa.
Right. I'm not going to cancel you because I don't agree with that. But people basically, they want to work backwards to their conclusion. They want to decide they don't like me, and then anything I say, they're going to find. You know what? Whatever. I don't care.
Put them up on the canceled board. Put them up on the bootlicker board.
Oh, we'll make bootlickers out of a lot of people. I got to tell you. And then I've got my private bootlickers. They'll be dealt with privately. I have amassed quite a list. I have quite a little list that I'm working on. And it's like, I think that for me, it's one of those things that it happens organically, that eventually, really truthfully, people do get what they have coming to them at the moment when they least expect it.
Well, like you said,
I am a firm believer in karma.
But there's also people who are just
karma's real.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is. And
yeah.
That is more or less what you like to say, which is people are simply standing in the way of progress.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest problem. It's one thing if you disagree with something, but there's really I would say probably the biggest problem in politics is there is a sense of self-righteousness that a lot of people feel, and having that feeling is infinitely more important than actually getting something done.
Yeah.
Dealing with all of the problems that exist right now. Listen, it's not the end all be all, but I look at it this way. If Bernie and Pramila are able to get tuition-free public college through for families making less than $125,000 a year, that is a significant step in the right direction, and that could lead to the next rung on the ladder, which could become $250,000, until eventually it just becomes universal and everybody has it. If we are able right now to lower the Medicare age to 60, just that is going to get like 17 million people in this country healthcare. And if it goes to 55, it's like 30 million people.
Yeah, it's a chunk.
So the amount of momentum that things like that can create is tremendous. And so when we see and this is not about incrementalism. This is about because we're fighting so hard for what we believe in, we're going to force their hand to give us something. Because if they don't, I would rather have that than have nothing. That isn't incrementalism. That's making sure that once you cross that ladder or that rung on the ladder, you are going to create so much momentum. The idea now that universal health care is part of the common vernacular, that we talk about it all the time. Not that, wow, wouldn't it be great to get it? It's, we're going to get it. It's just a question of when we get it. That's the attitude that we have created, that I think the Bernie movement has created. And one of the last things that I think we can, kind of leave on is, we want AOC to be able to do all of these things. But truthfully, I think if Nina gets to Congress, that is going to take so much pressure off of AOC to have to really be that charging force for the progressive movement. I think Nina wants to be
I think more importantly, we should ask Lauren. Lauren, if GenCorp were to rent a house for the month of July in Ohio, you should come visit and help Team Nina.
Gosh, I would love that. I would.
So that's one of the things I want to do is rent a house for GenCorp from July 5th to August 5th and be there to help Team Nina.
That sounds great. Let me know about that.
Definitely.
No, we're definitely
and also, by the way, if you are available, we will be having a live stream, our Thursday night live stream on May 13th, which will be for my 50th birthday. And so I'm doing like three-hour live stream fundraiser that we're kind of working on putting together.
Well, my birthday is May 6th. I don't know if we're going to do it.
No one cares.
Yeah, no one cares.
I'm 50, dude. Seriously.
I'm not.
So yeah. So I'm going to do it. I want to do it. And I'm going to obviously try to raise money for our little volunteer organization.
Our website is about to go up.
And so that would be really good. But yeah, so if you're available, I'd love to include you in my little come and go online cocktail party is what it'll be.
Of course.
Just come and mingle, and then we'll have some entertainment and see if we can get people to do some stuff.
I love that.
And if you have a
comedian.
Yes. Well,
you can definitely do a bit, because we were also going to ask other people to do bits.
Yes, we do have
Judah Friedlander.
Yeah.
Kate Willett.
Kate Willett's awesome.
Wait, no, like I love Kate. We're friends. And also Judah Friedlander doesn't know it yet, but is going to be working with me creatively on something. So
well, the best.
He's so bright.
He is.
Like, first of all, I think in general, comedians tend to be bright. I think you have to sort of twist things in your head. No, I do. I think that there is a certain way of looking at things and analyzing things that, or at least the people that I find funny. Well, there might be people that think they're funny, but they're not funny. But I don't know.
Well, credit also to David Cross, because he's been.
We had David Cross was a good guest for us too.
David's wonderful too.
Yeah, he's been a big supporter of Jen, and he was one of the first guests on the podcast. And the fact that he was willing to do that, really says a lot. I mean, there are good people out there.
If you see any of our guests and you want to like poach or ask, I'll be happy to connect.
Yeah, because this is because this is how you pay it forward.
We've established quite a little library of fun.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, thank you. No, I'm so excited. That's really cool. I love all those people.
Yeah, we have a nice little library that we've accumulated. And a lot of times it's people that maybe you don't know, but it could have been a book that I just thought was really cool, or,
I'm in that library now, and now I feel very cool, like I'm a book.
Yeah, you are. You're not the Kente Cloth Tales, but you're a book.
No, but there is this, what you would call, changing of the guard.
Yeah.
Even if it isn't happening nearly as quickly as we would like it to. But as we conclude every show, we always ask our guests, what does generational change mean to you?
Oh my gosh. I think that generational change is hope. Because I really, really tried to unseat someone who's been in office for a very long time. But it's chipping away at that, little bits at a time, and now JD's endorsed somebody in my district, and I hope that she wins. So I think it's been a tough pill to recover from the loss. I know, Jen, you probably are still healing too.
Was expected. It was expected for me. I was infinitely more prepared to lose than I was to win.
Yeah, well, same in a way. I just, you get hope whenever you see people like really showing up. So I've been really healing from that. This is really a therapy session for me. You might think that this is a podcast, but
It's
this
therapy.
is really, you guys are actually just my therapists now.
So Lauren, I'm working on this book, and it's basically, I'm calling it Love and Chaos in a Political Pandemic, but it's really like an insurgent's guide to running a campaign. Okay. And one of the things that I talk about is this something that I have noticed. People that can be successful at this have to have two key things. You have to have a small ego and thick skin. Yeah. And you need to have both of those things simultaneously. Yep. And that's not a common combination of factors. Usually when you get the people that have small egos, it's because they care more about other people. They're more in it and they're sensitive. So they probably don't have the thickest skin. So then you get people in there with really, really thick skin that don't care what anybody thinks, but they probably also have massive egos that feel the need to take credit for everything instead of working on the issues.
And the best example, the best example I ever saw of that, I always reference it because it's one of those seminal moments where I don't know how Nina Turner kept it together when Hillary Rosen basically went full racist on her on national television.
Oh, did you see that? It was a while ago. It was like a year or so
She made a comment about how you don't have a right to speak on behalf of Martin Luther King. And
this white woman told Nina, this white woman on an interview
This is one of Hillary Clinton's biggest confidants in all of politics.
Told Nina. They were talking, said, you don't have standing to quote Dr. King.
And Nina,
let me tell you, see the look on Nina's face.
But if you saw the way Nina handled that, I don't know how she did it. I don't know how she handled it.
If they were in the same room, I don't know.
Well, no,
I don't know.
She wouldn't say that. If she
oh my gosh! Well, I will come to the Generational Change house.
We will make sure you will be more than welcome there, and we will definitely send you a link for my birthday. Yay! And
guys, one more time before we conclude, remember it is Lauren Ashcraft biting commentary. That is on
I need
YouTube.
1,000 subscribers so that I can get live stream auto captioning. Which
is that how that works?
Okay. Yeah, there you go.
Cool. Like we know certain milestones we need to get to 10,000 subscribers to be able to have a merch store. Like it's like a game. You have to get X amount of points to get the bonus.
Yes.
Yeah.
So everybody subscribe, fighting commentary. And also once you get monetized, you'll be convincing people to let the ads run.
Yeah. It's a whole process, but it's a great process. And like I said, we definitely want to make sure that everyone who's fighting for the right causes is going to have their opportunity to make their mark.
Yes.
Because, look, if you had any idea how suppressed our channel is.
Oh yeah. You'll get it. You'll inevitably get it because you're going to say things and do things. And also once you start posting clips and stuff, there is definitely an art to thumbnails and captions and which things will get you pushed to the bottom of the pile on YouTube.
Oh no.
Oh yes. You don't want to say anything negative about Amazon, or you will be at the bottom of the barrel on the algorithm. Like there's certain things like Big Brother.
Yeah. Like when I have to, when you hear people like Joe Scarborough and Don Deutsch, oh, he's the freaking worst. Them coming on TV saying, we really needed to have Amazon in Queens. It's like, this is nuts. But when you're
Donnie Deutsch, that total douche.
And
he should be called Donnie Douche.
Here's a guy who was as anti-Trump as it gets, but it's because in his subliminal mind, he knows he's just like Trump. He's only where he is because his daddy let him get there. Yeah. He was a total product of his father. And like a lot of these guys are, you know how self-conscious so many of these guys are who don't actually make it on their own. So that would be a great example. But nevertheless, if you're not part of the corporate establishment, if what you preach is anti-establishment,
you can come on our show.
And
you can come on our show.
Yes.
This is Lulu. She generally makes at least one appearance per show. As long as I pick her up periodically and she sits here and be happy, then she'll go and lie back down in her
Lou is just letting us know. Lou is just letting us know that the latest episode.
She likes cats, actually. Lulu gets very along well with the feline.
Let me see if I can get Paul to bring my cat to me.
That's so funny. I did that with Vosh. Remember Vosh?
Yeah.
Vosh. Do you know who Vosh is, right?
Yes.
Okay. So he came on. He was a great guest, but he has a hairless cat, which I think looks inside out. But, you know.
Oh. Did you say he has a hairless?
He has a hairless.
Yes.
Well, he had two, but the one that he held up is this hairless cat.
Listen, the podcast that they did together, I mean, that's
we more than doubled our subscribers really, from him coming on my show.
That's what really gave us the boost.
So pay attention to who you invite on and have them retweet when they come on and try to get as many followers.
And just
what if I have this cat on?
Oh, that's so cute.
He has a string.
It's so cute. See? Yeah. And people like pets.
Hello.
Should I just have a live stream of me going like this?
People will like pets. I actually watch This Life with Malamute's Family. I love them. I watch Save a Fox. Save a Fox is one of my favorite YouTube shows. It makes me want a fox.
Can you tell I like cats?
Well, when you get to live out in the country, you can.
But you like dogs too, right?
Yeah. Well, I love all animals, really. I would probably cuddle a rat, though.
Yeah, but having a dog in New York City, if you don't have space,
I think it's every time I see dogs being walked in the city, I don't feel bad for them, but because they don't know any better, but I kind of do, especially the little ones that are like walking and it's freezing outside and they have little jackets on, and I don't know.
Well, you got to protect them.
My dogs don't like to go out if it's wet outside. They look at me like, oh hell no.
There's a whole industry of like dog walkers. And I will say some New York dogs have like more steps on their pedometer than like country dogs.
Yeah, but they're just leashed and they don't get to run. I don't know. I just feel kind of like, and they spend so much time walking on concrete and I don't know, kind of like, I don't know. Anyway.
New York City.
Thank you so much for coming on, Lauren. And
thank you.
And let us know how else we can help.
Oh my gosh, of course. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely.
Definitely give me the if you like biting commentary, please subscribe. And I can't wait to come to your birthday party.
Yeah. All right, John, make sure you add Lauren to the list of people to get the invite.
Have a great night, my friend. Great to see you, and we'll definitely
be in touch.
Enjoy Florida.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, Florida.
She's such a doll.
Oh my God. She's, for anybody who knows when I reference her from, okay, so this might not be a reference that everybody gets, but when I met Lauren and it was when we were in DC, right? Was that the first time I met her? Was when we were in DC for the BNC Summit. And it was like, I felt like Sandra Bullock meeting Cheryl Frazier in Miss Congeniality. I felt like, because she comes up to me and she's like, "Hi, Jen." I'm so like, she knew who I was. She was so friendly and so enthusiastic, and I was like, "Huh," And it was just so. And ever since then, like, she is, for anybody who's ever seen the movie Miss Congeniality, I was basically like Sandra Bullock, and she was Cheryl Frazier. It was so funny.
But she has the type of personality that if you don't like her, then the problem is you, because that's the type of person that you want in your life. You want that type of positive attitude about life, because life is hard enough as it is.
Although she is one of the first people that introduced her boyfriend, who is now her fiance, as her partner. And this is something for the younger generation that I just cannot stress enough. Please specify personal or professional. I have had this where it's not such a pleasant confusion, because I'll refer to you as my partner. But if I were talking about you as my partner to someone like Lauren or in her social circle, she would assume you were my partner.
Correct.
So I would like to ask people to please specify personal or professional partner.
Well, with that said, I am extremely hungry. I need to put some food in. And then, of course, we've got the next Law and Order episode that's coming on at 10 o'clock.
We've got
caught up, so I got to catch up with that. We are definitely trying to build something here. Like I said, I like Penn State Universal.
Okay, you know what? Can we get off of Pennsylvania right now? Because I actually had a very long, lengthy meeting with Mo today. And have a lot of local ideas and things that we're going to be working on.
Well, we could definitely have a meeting, a type of movement like that in the state.
Okay, so before we go, though, I want to make sure people know this. Okay, so tomorrow I am going to be at the Mobile School Pantry. I probably won't get there until about 3:45-ish. 3:30, but it is from 3 to 6 at West Hollywood Elementary. We will also be shooting some B-roll footage. So we'd love for people to come out and be wearing, Gen Core t-shirts would be very helpful. So if you are local, come out to West Hollywood Elementary School. And we are now considering this a big thing for having our new garden. And
Forgot to mention the climate rally.
Oh, well, that's not my event. I'm going to be speaking at a climate rally in Fort Lauderdale, but tomorrow. But what I was going to say is I think we have potentially a new location
For a community garden?
For a garden. And not only that, but it would also be connected with what we will now be calling our community closet.
Nice.
And so
no nonsense or anything.
No, because if Mo ultimately decides that she's willing to do it, it's going to be at her place.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And she has the space. It's just a matter of it's her personal space and what she does with it.
It'll add value to the property.
Well, that, and especially now, but one of the things that she's whatever. So anyway, if this happens, then we will be simultaneously working a community garden and our community closet, which I'm looking forward to. Our beach cleanup will be the first Tuesday of the month. I think what day is that? Is it May? What's the first day? I forget. What is it? May 4th? Is it the May the 4th be with you? Is that possible?
May the 4th be with us. That's May. That's
yes, it's
Tuesday.
May 4th. Yes. May 4th will be Trash and Taco Tuesday. I am going to be calling for it at 4 this time. I think a little bit later would be better. And so that's coming up. And I'm trying to think if there was anything else.
Well, any time that you could do it, that it's not going to be blazing hot outside is obviously ideal.
But I do now have a volunteer coordinator that I will be speaking with tomorrow. And we, starting in May, are going to start sending out, I had this idea to start sending out a weekly newsletter to the people that are in Gen Core. A weekly, it'll be a message from me. It'll be what's going on this week. And even once we have the website up and have a calendar, I still think it's nice for people that are Gen Core people to be getting like a newsletter type of thing. Just me checking in. So that I want to start. I need to speak with her about it. So I would say starting in May, we're going to start having a weekly update, what Gen Core is doing, how you can get involved, how you can help, blah, 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 blah. But tomorrow, if you have any interest in helping Mobile School Pantry at West Hollywood,
they also need help in Pompano. So if anybody is available to come up to the Pompano location, distribution.
Put the link to Z's page that has the information.
Is it mobileschoolpantry.org? I think?
Yes, mobileschoolpantry.org, guys. So there's 2 phases of Mobile School Pantry now because since COVID, there is the packing portion that happens up in Pompano at the it's basically the place where all the trucks come and bring their stuff. It's where all the produce people go. So the packing happens there from 11 to 2. And then the distribution is from 3 to 6 at West Hollywood Elementary. I'm going to the distribution part. It's just, it works out for us schedule wise tomorrow.
Yes.
But if you are able to do 11 to 2, definitely go on to mobileschoolpantry.org. All you have to do is click to volunteer, and tell Z that you're one of our people, and she'll be very appreciative. And if you can come to West Hollywood and participate in our little B-roll video footage, our video production intern is going to be there. So it should be great. Sadly, my friend Anthony Paz will not be there tomorrow. That's purse lips. Anthony Paz is apparently busy working with a client, which I don't know what that means.
I'm not saying anything.
I'm just saying.
Monday,
he knows
more
I
local
love
stuff
him.
with Florida. We have a very important story.
Yes, and Florida, we have a good guest on Monday.
Yes, we do. Governor DeSantis did another sneaky, despicable thing in terms of sales tax in the state of Florida. Ooh. So we'll be talking about that on Monday.
And our guest on Monday, can we say?
Not yet.
Okay.
Let's confirm everything.
That's fine.
First. We may have 2 guests. We have 2 guests.
Well, 2 guests. How luxurious. I'm like Elaine driving in a wide lane. How luxurious.
That ain't dancing, sister. Good night, everybody. Great to see you all.
Bye, all.
We'll see you soon.